Ladies and gentlemen, here with some news potentially about some behind-the-scenes things going on with Rockstar itself, as well as GTA 6, and some things and bits about GTA Online as well. Brought to you by Jason Schreier on Bloomberg. He released an article letting us know that in the summer of 2020, originally we were going to be getting a game mode called Cops and Crooks, some of you of course being very familiar with that. Obviously this will then shelve because of the killing of George Floyd, and Rockstar didn't particularly feel like having a tone-deaf type of mode within the game, when the entire world was basically rallying against the idea of police officers just doing whatever they feel like. And in case you're wondering, no, there are no plans to bring that back anytime soon, and judging by the fact that there's pretty much one of those type of stories every other week, don't think we're seeing Cops and Crooks anytime soon. Now this is also apparently one of the several political sensitive actions that Rockstar has made in the recent years. They removed some transphobic jokes from the expanded and enhanced versions released in March, as well as narrowed down the gender pay gap, and the next game, GTA 6, will include a playable female protagonist for the first time, which according to the sources is going to be Latina. Inspired by the story of Bonnie and Clyde, people have said the developers are also being cautious about not to punch down by making jokes about marginalized group, which obviously is the complete opposite of what previous GTA games did. If there's one thing that a GTA game always did, it would make fun of anyone and everyone, even the Dutch. Simple, lovely. And I think that's kind of always what the strength was of GTA, making fun of literally everything and anything. Obviously, we live in a time now where certain jokes can no longer be made, and before you know it, you're on Twitter having to defend yourself and write yourself an apology letter. Granted, it is something that I personally feel is okay. I feel that it is a good thing to have a more open mind towards how certain people feel, especially the more marginalized groups, like for example the LGBT community. I think making small adjustments in the way that you present yourself or formulate yourself or make your games, for example, will go a long way into what is, I guess, the greater good, that is just making sure that everyone within the world feels appreciated and feels respected. At the end of the day, if you're a piece of shit, you're still a piece of shit, but it should never really be about your gender, your race, or anything along those lines. And while I am a big fan of GTA, always have been that game of just basically giving the finger to everyone and everything, I don't disagree with the fact that if it will make the world a better place, then I suppose having the next GTA game be a little bit more considerate with everyone else will probably go a long way. You have to keep in mind that the last GTA game was released in 2013, which, let's be honest about this, is nearly 10 years ago, and the times certainly have changed, but obviously this does give some concern for those long-time players as well as even the developers within the game, because they're mentioning that the company has kind of gone from a boys club into like an actual real company. The company of Rockstar as a whole has also changed within the last couple of years, ever since in 2018, where the whole public controversy was going on about hundreds of Rockstar employees speaking out about what the work environment was like. It seems that Rockstar has actually made an actual good change and kind of reinventing himself to be more progressive and a more compassionate workplace, which in turn kind of also has affected the development of GTA 6. It's been slower than us impatient fans and even long-time employers have expected. Sure, much of that has to do with the pandemic, but the delay has also been due to some changes that the company has made in an effort to improve working conditions, such as a reconstructing of the design department and a pledge to keep overtime under control. Some workers say that they're still trying to figure out how to make games at this new iteration of Rockstar and wonder what a Grand Theft Auto game will look like in today's environment. Besides, several Rockstar employees pointed out that you can't really satirize today's America because, well, it's already a satire of itself. Something that I would be inclined to agree with, even though I'm not American and just looking from the outside looking in. You know, I'm not gonna get political, but I mean, you know, filthy European is gonna keep his mouth shut, but I mean, America, come on! But a lot of these things are effectively suggesting that GTA 6 is going to feel very different than its predecessors, which is something that I might be a little bit afraid about, if I'm completely honest. Like, is it still going to feel like a GTA game, or is it going to feel like a Rockstar game, but without the GTA feel, if that makes sense, right? The last game Rockstar has released is Red Dead Redemption 2, which arguably was a fantastic game. I loved it, but it's nothing like GTA was. Like, it's a completely different game. It's not as much satire. And while I'm sure that some of you will find it a great shame there will no longer be any commercials about selling babies online delivered in a box directly to your door.
It's great! If you don't like the one they send you, just throw it in the trash and they send a new one. No questions asked. I definitely use them again.
Babiesovernight.com. Your new bundle of joy in a box overnight. Guaranteed.
I feel that there's still plenty of humor to be had about the satire that we all know and love. While it's not going to be in Rockstar's interest to start making fun of, well, the things that nowadays is a bad idea to make fun of, I do hope that there's still room for, you know, making fun of everyone and everything. I feel that's important. It's comedy, it's satire, it's stuff that, well, let's be honest about this, is something that is important. You should be able to laugh about yourself, about anything in the world, at least in my opinion. And I want to stress this, I feel that it's personally important that in comedy you should always be allowed to make jokes about whatever. But if you're purposely going out just to piss people off or just to be just a douchebag about it, at that point is where I draw the line. I think that's what a lot of people are getting wrong about comedy and humor and jokes in general. People don't often see it as jokes, they just simply see it as a statement or a fact or how a certain person feels. For example, the babiesovernight.com commercial I let you listen to earlier, it's purely a joke. Obviously something like that shouldn't exist and will never exist because it's downright ridiculous. And that is the point. The point is not that people at Rockstar want to sell babies overnight. They just want to make a joke, and I think it's important to keep that in mind in games like GTA or just entertainment in general. In terms of the launch version of GTA 6, it is most likely that we're going to be going back to Vice City, but this will be updated with new missions and cities on a regular basis, which is something that I guess will be very cool and will keep the game fresh instead of having to spend 9 years in Los Santos. The launch version apparently already includes more interior locations than any GTA game previously. If there's one thing that people have always criticized GTA games for, is that there's a lot of buildings, but not a lot of access. In terms of release schedule and all this sort of stuff, it seems that the predictions for a launch between April 2023 and March 2024 is something that all of the developers that are working on the game seem to be relatively skeptical about. Due to multiple changes on the team and bottlenecks in productions, some developers have even gone as far as to quit because of the lack of progress in the games recently. Developers on the team are also reportedly expecting the game to be at least 2 years away and say that there is no firm release date set internally. So it's going to be a little while until we're going to see this game in our consoles, folks, but until then, that is all for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more, and if you really like what you see on the channel, make sure to become a member like Chloe, Robert, and KFC Chicken. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all later.